few articles came out on payments.com. They are really good at what they do. And so I wanted to share those with you, talk about them a little bit in regards to business financing, access to credit for SMBs. They came out with a new quarterly, I believe it's quarterly report for August, a survey of SMBs from June. In regards to their confidence level in their business. Another one in regards to small businesses and their use of credit and credit cards, personal and business. And then the last one of what we wrote about in the last few days with earning reports from Shopify and others, including Square. They talk about how, these platforms are luring SMBs to their platforms to get these alternative funding options. So thought it'd be great to share these. Make sure you guys are getting, wind of these articles and this information. If we're not writing about it, I want to talk about it on video. And then if you have any questions, definitely drop them down below. But first, we are almost 2 days away exactly. On the 14th, we're getting together in the Fort Lauderdale area, our networking mixer for business lending, fintech. If you want to get into these industries, come on out, tell a colleague, tell a friend who's looking to change jobs or get in the industry. Lenders, funders, service providers of all sorts, fintech, software, lead providers. Our sponsors are amazing. Thank you so much to our sponsors. Look on the website, funderintel.com. Let me just share my screen with you to make sure that you have the information. So here it is on the events tab, and then you can just buy your tickets. And it is 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Again, Dania, it's at CT Cantina in Taqueria. They're a really good place. Great cocktails and food we'll have served. So you can see some of the guests here. We already have a good amount of people registered, got their tickets. Tickets end for brokers at the special pricing, the lower rate, just about now, almost 6 o'clock Eastern time when I'm recording this. So if you haven't already got your tickets, a little bit late, but otherwise you can still buy tickets up until the day. We just won't be selling them at the door, so you got to get them ahead of time. So, and here is the map for where it is. Okay, so we'll see you there. Let's get to the topics at hand. So this one, honestly, shouldn't be that big of a surprise, but to some it is. And I think it's more to the extent of, as you see the title here, younger small businesses rely heavily on credit to fuel growth. Look, if you're a small business, you can't qualify for business credit that often. There's only certain types of financing that you can qualify for. So a personal credit card and a business credit card are two of the main options. And this continues to be the case, honestly, for every type of business. And they break it down, payments breaks it down to SMBs into small, medium, and large. So, they're talking about their main point here is that simply a higher credit limit is redefining your top of wallet usage. Okay, so whatever your highest credit limit card is, that's what you're pulling for, not rewards, cashback, higher, lower interest rates. Those aren't the main consideration. So it says nearly half, okay, cite higher credit limits, and then they break them down to if you're generating $1 million or more, the importance of the higher credit limits is even more pronounced, right, than the others. So it's compared to 18%. And then this signals that for high revenue firms, sufficient credit availability is not just a preference, but it's an operational necessity. So think about that. If you're the business owner, you're a small business, you're working way up, it only makes sense that eventually you're going to come to higher terms, higher limits, that it's going to be built in to what you do because it's such an easy way of accessing capital or at least credit, however you're operating your business, to get those funds in the short term. And would also go on to say that most of these higher revenue firms pay off their balance monthly, whereas here it is down here. Whereas younger, smaller firms, they tend to have revolving balances. And then here is the paragraph on that they balance between personal, professional, and personal finance, personal credit cards, right? Obviously, younger, you're going to do that. I've done that, right? That's just reinforcing that one, as it says here, that there's opportunity for flexible credit solutions. If you have a product, right, that can fill some void here, that's what you can focus on. And because there is a market for it, right, besides credit cards, what can you offer that's going to fill that void? And I think that just plays into a bigger picture. There's still voids in the market for a number of businesses that are just old school, traditional type of businesses, very simple, boring businesses that a lot of people call them, to the new kind of tech platforms or other types of businesses that are popping up nowadays. The other article, and this is a growth report. So this is the small buy payments. Again, um, props to payments for producing these reports. Payments intelligence, to be specific. Small business growth monitor, Q2. We usually put this out in the blog, but I wanted to talk about it today. From headwinds to hope on Main Street. Now, I get it. There is some hope here, but I don't want to, I personally wouldn't put too much emphasis, but it is positive. Okay, so this is taken the first 2 weeks of June. They surveyed 513 small businesses. Where is the methodology? Here it is, 513 between June 2nd and June 17th. So some things have changed, right? They talk about what has changed, and mainly it's been the new administration's Trump's global agenda, right? And so there's at the beginning in February, they talk about the difference between Liberation Day. Since February, Liberation Day, you had tariffs come in, come out, not go into effect, go into effect. Honestly, who knows? If you know off the top of your head which tariffs are into effect right now, then you deserve a pat on the back and probably a raise in your firm if you can name those, because it's very difficult to tell which ones are in effect and which ones aren't, right? Some deals have been made supposedly, some are in effect, some companies get exceptions, like who knows? So take this with a positive grain of salt. Now, either way, it's positive data. It's good. Now, it goes into here like slightly consumers slightly boosted their spending in June by 0.3%, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis. Driven slightly more by slightly more purchases of food, beverages, apparel, and recreational goods came alongside with the identical sized uptick in disposable income. Interesting there. Disposable income, is it just dollars? Is that inflation adjusted dollars? I don't know. Comparatively, it seems that consumers weather economic uncertainty and maintain their spending in certain categories, particularly essentials and discretionary items. Makes sense. Related experiences in personal care, and then some SMBs are showing resilience amid widespread uncertainty about the economy and consumer spending. So I think that's still there. Like there's still uncertainty depending on what industry you're in, right? Some more than some others. More positive outlook notwithstanding, things are far, this goes on to say, to my point, things are far from uniformly smooth sailing. Rising costs of imported goods, services, and labor pose challenges, hurting some SMBs' financial health. That's the gist of it. Now, when you get into they're more optimistic than ever. When it says ever, this means from the time that they started compiling these reports in 2022, as it says here. Okay. Um, Either way, it's a positive thing to draw from. If you're a lender, if you're a funder, you're thinking about what these businesses are doing. Are they just trying to get capital to stave off going under? Are they in an emergency situation? Or are they really trying to expand because they're confident in what they're doing and where their business is going? So here's some graphs, some charts as far as the timeline, the increases and decreases, and the reports. So you have like the top end here is the very likely or extremely likely to survive the next 2 years. So you went from 81.3 to an uptick to 82.4 in the last 3 months. So that is a confidence factor that plays a part, and right in whatever role you're playing here, a broker, a lender, a funder, whatever it is, you want to understand how your businesses are seeing themselves before they're taking capital. And it will go through some other charts, and these are really good. So if you're not paying attention to what they're doing here, you should. SMB's reporting that select factors have positively impacted their business's financial health. Demand is up there, operating costs reduced. Okay, all the way down to government grants or subsidies, reduce competition in the market, etc. Okay, So I would say, excuse me, to go through this. And if you're in underwriting, if you're at the top, of someone who's making decisions and you're adjusting risk model, or you're someone who's advising brokers on what questions to ask and what they're looking out for, these can help you in your phone calls, in your conversation with business owners. Talk about their confidence. Where do they see them going in 6 months, in 2 years, and 3 years? And that time frame gives you an idea, and it'll help you talk to them and maybe close a deal of getting capital, right? Or maybe denying a deal of, not going with this business owner because they see something happening in their business that's not positive. But either way, um, these are topics of conversation to be had. And then the last article is here, something we talked about just recently because of earnings reports with Shopify and Square. So this is titled Platforms, excuse me, it's getting late here. Platforms lure SMBs seeking capital from alternative lending options. So what is this? This is the platforms are the big ones, the PayPals, the Lending Club, Shopify, Block, which is Square Loans. So they go through basically everything. And if you're in alternative funding, again, not really a surprise, you should know some of these numbers by now. If you're paying attention to what your business is doing, whether you're a broker, whether you're a funder or lender, these are the big guys to where it gives you indicators. If there's billions of dollars per quarter in originations or per year, as PayPal demonstrated here. So it talks about PayPal's numbers. This is Q2, or sorry, the 6 months ended July 30th, 2025, compared to 2024, a billion to 774 million in merchant receivables. Okay. And then they talk about basically the data shows the loans that were current, right? And they call them loans because there's some that they have loans and working capital also. 89.99%, almost 90%, is down a bit from 90.4%. So you're saying current, it's not a default, but it is that they could be late, right? Or if that 10%, that approximately 10% is late or not current, that's kind of 10% is almost like an industry standard to stay below as far as a default rate. That doesn't mean that's what this number exactly indicates. And then it talks about, look, again, this is just covering numbers on here because I think it's important. If you haven't read about this, if you're not keeping up, just giving you it on a video. Um, and their 10Q filings indicate that Square loans on their balance sheet were 631.3 million compared to 404.8 at the end of last year. So major increase there. 200 plus million, right? And then you talk about this one was in merchant receivables year over year ending June 30th, about a $225 million difference. So when you get people saying like, oh, some things are, ripoffs and these types of loans that these platforms are putting out there, PayPal and Square, and they're getting paid back, doesn't there doesn't mean this is SBA interest rate money or anything like that, comparatively speaking, but it's still capital that is very, worthy cost, it may be in some ways it's, I would say affordable, that almost kind of a bad word in a sense, but they're reasonable. That's probably the better way to put it. They're reasonable. Okay. And people are using them. Businesses, small businesses are not just surviving. These are companies that are growing. They're using these to expand, right? You have lending. So Shopify was the other one that had their earnings report recently. The company purchased 1 billion in loans, up from 705 in the previous year's second quarter. So $1 billion just from Shopify. Lending Club, now they have a bank behind them, Lending Club Bank. Now this is, it says, which includes but not limited to loans extended to businesses. So this is all of them. So it's not, you can't, they don't separate commercial loans compared to consumer loans. So 5.3 is their total loan base. Um, and then it says, as the company wrote in that filing, in addition to the loan service on their marketplace platform, we service 52.8, 93, 111, an outstanding principal balance of commercial loans sold as of June 30th, 2025. And then it goes on to the respective dates. So that gives you a little bit better indicator. Okay, so that's it for this video, and I appreciate you watching. Again, a reminder, our mixer, August 14th, Thursday, 6:30 p.m. CT Cantina in the Dania Beach area, in Dania Beach, in the Fort Lauderdale area. Tell a colleague, bring a friend, someone who's not in the industries of business lending and fintech yet. Bring them, get them excited to refer you business if they are in an industry that can access business owners. Bring them along. Whoever you are that wants to attend, it's worthy. A lot of good conversations. It's kind of that back to school, everyone's going back to school right now. Their kids are going back to school. So you have a chance to get out, start that almost fall networking scene. There's events coming up. Brokers Expo is going to be in September. So this gets things going. Get out of that summer. Maybe you were sitting back a little bit, maybe you're on vacation. It'd be good to see you and catch up. All right. So until next video, again, my name is Shane Mohabir, Funder Intel, and we'll see you in the next one.